send a very warm welcome to all of you joining me today, centered in discussion around empowering EAL success. It's extremely and especially heartwarming for me as I looked out at all of you virtually, and I saw so many names of educational assistants who I have had the privilege of working alongside. I really want you to know that each one of you, how important your role in education is and how valued you are by teachers. I know for a fact that having an EA in my classrooms has given me the opportunity to provide programming that met the needs of all the students in my room. And I never would have been able to run multiple math levels, different levels of reading in a classroom without the aid of you exceptional EAs. So I was really able to be the teacher that I was because of the support of each one of you. So welcome to you all. And as we gather here today, we are living and breathing our district's mission and vision statement of living and learning in our Catholic faith so that students centered in Christ realize their full potential. And this image that you are seeing in front of you right now showcases the Board of Trustees priorities, which each one of us working for Calgary Catholic, we're all guided by, which include well-being, Indigenous education, student success, and each one of these is rooted in faith formation. And today, we're all learning and growing in our knowledge of how to best support the linguistically and culturally diverse students that we serve. And I have this slide in here for you so that you can reference it because we are fortunate enough to have 6 EAL consultants. Each one of us serves around 20 schools in our portfolio, and we all have different divisional focuses. So you can see that our names, but also our emails are there. So please feel free, to reach out to any of us or myself if you have questions or if you'd just like to chat through any of the information we talk about today. So we have Kimberly Goosen, Dina Alexander, myself, Carrie Toussaint, Rebecca Hartwick, Stacy Itterman, and Aurelia Aiello. Our supervisor is Sonia Stapleton, and our area director is Holly Sheely. Now, we are blessed to have 3 extremely talented and dedicated EAL DDLTs joining us this year. You may see them out in classrooms at your school, so please feel free to reach out to them if you have any questions or would like to chat. They are a wealth of information, so you can see Jessica Kelso, who is joining us here today online, Jennifer Brennan, and China Burkett. And so I really wanted to start us off by just putting ourselves in the place of an EAL student. Now, this student happens to have very limited English, but very much so has academics from their home country in their home language. And it's always nice to start off by thinking, what is it like to be an EAL in the classroom? And maybe you can see maybe some of the things that are happening and also some of the things that are quite confusing in our classrooms, in our high-paced classrooms that we have. So if each one of you wants to say a little prayer, cross your fingers that all of this works with the technology. Let's try this out.
Going to be hard, but that's all right because we're going to try really hard. Isn't that right, Cameron?
Yes, Ms. Peters.
Okay, great. Everyone listen up. So we're going to want to work on we get ours from the answer and the information in the story, okay? We're going to go ahead and test, practical test, and try this actus test. Test your test. Open up. We're going to page. You go to read. First on page 3.
¿Qué dijo? ¿A poco va a empezar el examen? No, es una práctica.
We're gonna take notes from the story and we're gonna turn it into a math problem and we're gonna walk through it together, okay? So the boy ran 3 blocks. So everyone write 3 blocks.
I didn't even know him. He looked like a stranger.
How long did it take him to run 3 blocks?
He looked like he was in
Michelle?
6 minutes.
Very good, 6 minutes. All right, so then we're gonna take 3 blocks and 6 minutes,
¿Por qué el niño
right?
corre con los bloques? ¿Qué? Sí, ¿por qué el niño corre con los bloques? No,
Okay, so the
corre 3
questions are gonna
calles.
go on to ask us, how long will it take him to run 20 blocks? What do we do? How many minutes is that per block?
8 minutes.
Try and remember to raise your hand if you want to answer, okay? No, it's not 8 minutes. Michelle?
18 minutes?
Nope, not 18 minutes. Yes, Enrique?
40?
40, yeah, very good. How'd you get 40?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, 40 is the right answer. How did you get it?
I forgot.
You forgot. Okay. Does anyone know how we get 40? Yes, Moises.
¿40?
Yep, that's right. Very good. Great. Can you tell us how you got that?
40?
Yep, very good. But can you explain to the class what you did here, how you got that?
40?
Okay, all right, you guys, settle down.
That is so dumb.
Joe, do you want to lose your recess?
No.
Okay, then. Thank you, Moises.
Can you help me, please?
Can you take a walk with me? I don't want you to worry about the test, okay, Moises?
Sí, estoy preocupada sobre el examen. La directora Rosa dijo que todavía tenemos que hacer.
Just try your best, okay? Do you understand? Not importante.
Sí, sí es importante.
You're right, Moises. It is important.
Okay, well, just bear with me for a second. Now you can see from that video how overwhelming the language load can be for all of our students. And so even our students that are coming with a lot of background information, a lot of academics behind them, you can see that this student was looking at some of the supports the teacher had put in place. So she was talking about blocks and he looked over at a math block. But you can see the constant amount of confusion that can happen in a very fast-paced classroom. And at this point, he's sitting there engaged, but we all know that the longer a student is maybe not understanding the language, not feeling connected, maybe getting laughed at a little bit, they are going to start to disengage. So our hope is that our teachers have these skills, but also you also are teachers in a classroom. You are part of that learning environment. And so hopefully today I'm going to, set you up with a few strategies that I am sure you are already doing. And my hope would be that you learn a couple more things that you can be bringing out in your toolkit as well. And so we love this quote because the quote speaks to all of us as we are all working with students of additional language languages in different capacities, which makes each one of us a language teacher. So our lessons, conversations, activities, they're all delivered in English, making us each language teachers. It's really all of our responsibilities to make the information we present to students comprehensible to them. And we're always growing and changing in our pedagogy and learning, and we've moved towards aligning our terminology with Alberta education, refining our practices. You will hear us make some reference to these. Some of them are new acronyms. So if you look on the screen here, you can see, you may hear me say EAL, and that's English as an additional language. And we're really talking about the programming, the supports that we are providing to our students. You could hear me say ESL, which is English as a second language, and we primarily use this as a course code in high school. ELL, really the most important acronym you're going to hear, is English Language Learner. And this is the student. This is, the heart that we are teaching. And then you may hear ELD, which is English Language Development. And it's a locally developed course where the English language is taught explicitly and meaningfully to students who are in EAL level 1 or 2. So you may have an ELD class in your school, whether it's in person, or some are offered online through St. Isidore. And understanding the students we teach and we support is the place for us to start in our toolkit. So understanding where students are linguistically is just one part of getting to know your ELL learners and your newcomers. It's important to learn about a student's journey. So how things work now is at St. John's, we welcome refugee students, and all other newcomers are welcomed at their home school. At this time, staff meet with families and gather background information so that we can better understand each student's journey and support them in our schools. St. John's provides schools with a glimpse into the story of how a family came to Canada, if there were any struggles, what life looked like back home. And then at St. John's, the students are assessed, families are interviewed, and a report is then uploaded into PASSI, a place where all of students' records are held for the students' learning team to access. So it's important to know that as an EA, you are part of that learning team. As EAs, you can also access these family interview reports through the classroom teacher or the DLCT. So it's something to ask if you're looking to gather more information about some of the students that you are supporting. So it's a great starting place, but the best ways to gather that important information is really getting to know your students. So welcoming families and students to your building and forming relationships with students is the best way to gather that information about, what are their home languages? Most of our kids have multiple additional languages. What was their lifestyle back at home? What kind of schooling have they been through? And of course, we can't know everything about a student and their culture, but learning some, little tidbits will strengthen a student's sense of belonging and show that we are invested in supporting each one of them. You'll notice right down here, it says identity projects and it's in blue. If you click on this, I'll be sending this Google Slides out to you. When you click on any of these things that are in blue, it will take you to some resources. So right here, there are some identity projects that teachers or yourself can be working on with students just to learn a little bit more about them. And it's also important to understand that there is a process of cultural adjustment. So many students arrive in Canada, they start off hopeful, excited. It's often the end to a very long immigration journey. And then newcomers, they may experience a little bit of culture shock. They may not be used to their new way of life. They may have been high achieving students and now they're acquiring English while learning content and maybe not achieving at the same standard that they were used to. They may miss their family, their home country. This is when students may start acting out or maybe they withdraw a little bit. And I feel as if our EAs, you are firsthand observers of this changes, and it really is a sign that there is maybe something more going on. And so really tackling these situations with patients, but also talk with students about how they're feeling. After that culture shock, next there's a bit of sense of recovery and optimism that they're settling into Canadian culture. And lastly, students will acculturalize and are able to see themselves in both cultures, so not just in one. And it's important to know that this process is not linear. Students may appear okay with everything, and then the next day, might be acting out or just not acting themselves. So know that that could be part of what's going on. Now, this process can take a few months. It can even take a few years. And it's also important to note that you may also have students who are not EAL learners, so they have the English language, but because they were born in a country other than Canada, they also may need support with this cultural adjustment as well. And many of you may have seen an example of what you see in front of you right now. And these are our CCSD English Language Proficiency benchmarks. And benchmarks hold the outcomes that we observe students to be able to see where they are in their language progress, and then also to be able to see, have they progressed? Where are they moving towards? What do they still need to accomplish? So the language learning targets outlined in these benchmarks are based on additional language acquisition, and achievement is based on a multiple year trajectory. So very different than at the end of grade 5, you will have learned this. It would be between grades 4 to 6, they will be working on these language outcomes. Student achievement is indicated by their current English language proficiency level. In red, with that blue arrow pointing towards it, you will see the level of support or supports required in order for the students to achieve the outcomes within that level. And it really informs what kind of differentiation and supports need to be provided to the student. On here as well, you can see that there are 5 levels. Even though it says level 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 again, it should say level 5. There are 5 levels, and it really starts with our entry-level students with the language, all the way up to level 5, where the supports wouldn't need to be as intensive. And there are 4 language strands that are supported for students to achieve success in language acquisition, and they are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And I have this here for you to go back and refer to, but you can see some general descriptors of how a student at the various levels may present. So again, those level 1s are coming in maybe with limited English. They also may have limited or no formal schooling, and so this might be a brand new experience to them. And you can see how it progresses all the way up to level 5. And when students have achieved level 5, they really are language-wise looking at acquiring more academic language, which all, even native English speakers, are looking to acquire academic language. And so we'll get right into the meat of everything. Is let's dive into these 3 types of universal strategies that can make the language we use to teach in our content areas more accessible to all learners. So our lens is an EAL lens, but really these are going to support all learners within the classroom. So our focus today will be targeting academic vocabulary, ensuring that we not only set students up for language success within everyday social interactions, but also equip them with strategies to be successful academically as well. We will also look at how to make learning visible to students. So some examples might be graphic organizers, visual dictionaries, word walls. And lastly, we'll look at how we can encourage students to talk through their learning to really internalize that information. And so language acquisition can be imagined like this iceberg that you see in front of you. The small amount of the iceberg that we see from above is similar to BICS skills, and this stands for Basic Interpersonal Communication Skills, which include the social language that students will be using daily. This stage of language development takes, 1 to 2 years for most students typically, but some of our really resilient students sometimes fool us by making us think that they have learned all the language they need to be successful at school. So they may be saying, I am ready for that -2 class, but this is not necessarily the case. The larger, more complex academic parts of language are found in the CALP skills, and this is the cognitive academic language proficiency skills. And they're skills that students must be explicitly taught for them to be successful in academic courses at school. This stage of language development can take up to 7 or more years. And these are the skills that each of our students deserve to be taught in order for them to take whatever path they would like to support their future goals. And so academic language is extremely important and it must be taught explicitly to students. It is not something that students will just pick up on. As this quote speaks to, academic English is not a natural language for any of us. It must be explicitly taught, not merely caught. As instructors, we all need to be intentional when we are selecting what words to use and teach in the classroom and be mindful to use tools and strategies that can support students in understanding and utilizing this new academic vocabulary in discussions and conversations. We also don't want to avoid this language either. We need to use the highly academic words with students, but also support their understanding of them. Now you can see this triangle here, and the words we use and teach every day in the classroom are divided into 3 tiers. Now, tier 1 is on the bottom. It's really those foundational words, and you can see it's the foundation of the triangle that we build more language upon. And so these are the words that we would use in our everyday conversations. A lot of the words I'm using today are also tier 1 words. So if I was thinking about a science lesson, it might include the words grass, sun, dirt. Now, if we move up a level, there's tier 2 words, and these are the academic words that I was speaking about, and they're found across all different subject areas and are really your high mileage words because these words are used in various subject areas, classes, contexts. So examples of tier 2 academic words could include evaluate, synthesize, draw, conclusion. A lot of times you'll see these words also on assessments or tests. Finally, at the very top, there are tier 3 words, and these are our subject specific words. These are words students will hear mostly at school. So for instance, maybe they are learning about photosynthesis. Well, they're going to talk about photosynthesis in the classroom. They're going to dive deep into it, but they're probably not out on the playground with their classmates talking photosynthesis. So these are the words that really are kind of housed within the school. Now, if you are supporting an EAL Level 1 student, you really want to focus on the Tier 1 words of the unit. This means the student may be in grade 8 science, but they are still learning the content of grade 8 science. But the expectation would be that they are going to start by speaking and eventually reading and writing using these Tier 1 words. If you happen to be supporting an EAL Level 2 student, you should continue to support those Tier 1 words, adding in some Tier 3 words, those subject-specific words, possibly one Tier 2 word of an academic word, and then supporting an EAL Level 3 student, you want to focus on Tier 3 words, those subject-specific words, but also, again, add in more academic words for students to speak and interact with. And then our EAL Level 4 and 5 students are really focusing on those tier 2 and 3 words, using them with less and less support as their confidence increases. And this is also typically where their classmates, native English speakers, are also working towards. And so we have another tool for you to when you click on the academic vocabulary link there, and it will take you to a document of academic word wall cards. And these are excellent to have when introducing an academic word. They can be displayed in the classroom and referred to when using these words. Now, if you click on this link, it will take you to many academic vocabulary words that are also directing verbs found on tests or assessments that students are taking. And you can see that the word interpret is used in social studies, in science, in ELA, and in math. I mean, right across the board. When students are exposed to these words in a variety of different subject areas, they're able to see that the word may look the same, but the skills needed to successfully use the word in each subject may look a little bit different. Now, there's a whole bunch of links here, especially if you are working with our elementary students. And the elementary teaching and learning consultant teams, with the support of our team members as well, have done an excellent job organizing the words in each of these units into tier 1, 2, or 3 words. And they're just a really great resource to access. So you can see, are the words I'm using appropriate for the level of EAL that I am supporting? If you click on this link, there's a bit of an instructional sequence of like, how do you actually teach vocabulary? It will take you to that. But when teaching vocabulary, be sure to be selective. So don't throw all the words out there. Target a few words at a time. If you're working on an assignment with a student, pick 2 or 3 words to target for understanding. Be really explicit when you're teaching, directly teaching the meaning and function of the word. Pair it with a visual and possibly what it is and what it is not. And again, revisit these words frequently and get your students talking using these words. And I really appreciate this academic vocabulary instructional sequence that Kate Kinsella has outlined. And it really is looking at how to teach academic vocabulary. And I thought this is a great one for you to be able to refer back to as well. You can begin by showing the student the word. So write it on the board or a piece of paper, put it in front of them so they can see those letters, then pronounce the word. Use the I do, we do, you do strategy. So for instance, I say the word, then we say the word together, and then ask students to turn to the person beside them and they say the word to the person beside them. You can also clarify the part of speech, which means if I say the words in math, a multiple, if I can say to students, if there's more than one multiple, we would say multiples with that S, and we pronounce the S. You can also note other forms of the word. So, multiple is within multiplication. You can give synonyms, so words that mean the same thing. Antonyms, words that mean the opposite, and talk through why they are the same, why they're different. Add a visual or picture, or show a quick YouTube video to make the word a little more concrete in their mind. So I know some of you have already seen this example, but for those of you who haven't, let's look at teaching a new academic word to ourselves. Using some of those strategies that Kate Kinsella listed in the previous slide. So I'm just going to ask you, do you know this word? Have you seen it before? Maybe, what do you think it sounds like? And now I'm going to start by saying it, chiasmus. And let's all say it together, chiasmus. Now, if you're by yourself, you can maybe just say it out into the world again, but if you have somebody beside you, can you turn to them and say that word with them? Chiasmus. So now I'm going to give you a definition. Chiasmus is a literary device where there is repetition of similar ideas or words in a reverse sequence. Do we all know what it means now? And I'm just going to put it out there. When I first did this, I did not know what that meant by just reading the definition in the dictionary. And so maybe reflect on when you're in a teacher's classroom and the teacher is asking students to write definitions straight from a glossary or from a dictionary. Are kids actually understanding that by just reading it? So I'm now going to give you an example. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Okay, I still wasn't quite there, but now here's a visual. A is to B as B is to A. And now I'm looking back at that example. Okay, I might see that a little. Another example, whoever exalts himself will be humbled. And there's a bit of a visual showing this now. Whoever humbles himself will be exalted. Okay, I'm starting to kind of get the idea. This is a commercial from way back in the day, and it's for Band-Aids. Oh my goodness, I am stuck on Band-Aid brand because Band-Aid stuck on me. So there is an example of chiasmus. And another one, success is getting what you want, happiness is wanting what you get. And you could also go over what it is not, so non-examples. And really, I drew it out a little bit, but this could take about a minute. But now we've hit multiple ways, and I know I have a better understanding of the word chiasmus. Now, this is, quite high, but for our high school EAs out there, you probably might come in contact with words like this. But this is what it's like for all of our other students who are just learning some of our basic, like evaluate, photosynthesis, any of these things. And so just showing it in multiple ways will hit all of our students there. Now, this is one of my favorite parts of our toolkit is a Frere model, and it's an excellent way for students to record their learning about a vocabulary word or concept. And so how it works is first you place the vocabulary word in the center. In one quarter, maybe a student-friendly definition can be added. Students are definitely encouraged to add home language to support the definition or the processes being looked at. In another corner, students could draw a picture or write the page number they can find this word in their textbook in. In the third corner, maybe students, like I had said before, add some examples, and you can say these are synonyms. And synonym would definitely be a nice high academic word that we would want kids to be able to use. And in the last corner, possibly students can add non-examples, which are antonyms. Again, these corners can have different headings depending on what you would like students to do and their ability level. I know when I have worked alongside EAL level 1s or 2s, I might just even have them write a simple sentence using that word. And so we can change that up. And this is a diamond Frere model, so you don't have to have that Frere model photocopied or pre-planned. A lot of times that best learning happens just, on the spot. So a way that you can get students to create a Frere model is have them fold a piece of paper vertically and then horizontally, and then just pinch in the middle, the center to create a quick Frere model. And this one that you see here could be used for a math problem or solving an equation, which you would place in the middle. Then one corner, students solve algebraically. Maybe another corner, they're going to show models or pictures of how they solve their equation. One corner, students could write important definitions, just like we normally do in our foldables. And in the last corner, students can create a similar problem to give to a classmate to solve. Now, home language, again, should be incorporated in all the boxes. And these Frere models can also be given to those, say, EAL level 1s to 1 to 3 to support them during an assessment. And what I love about Frere models is I wouldn't just do this with EAL students, I would do this with everybody. So all students are going to be actively engaged in the activity at a level that they're going to be successful at. Now, we also want to make sure that their learning is as visible as possible, and visuals can support the delivery of content, making that material more comprehensible, um, and can support students in demonstrating their understanding. These supports remove some of that cognitive language load of written and spoken language for students to be able to show knowledge of content with less language. Graphic organizers and anchor charts can help students organize their thoughts, and we're going to have a look at a few. And by giving students a clear example to follow or a picture or video, this will help students connect their previous knowledge to the new material and help build on those connections. So this quote is a student expressing the importance of visuals in their learning. I couldn't make any sense of what happened in the Middle Ages and the lives people led. I could understand castle, and I imagined a beautiful castle in my dreams. When the teacher showed us a 4-minute clip of an old film, it all clicked, and I could make sense of all those other words, knights and vassals and all of that. So this student had an idea of what a castle was from watching TV or movies and envisioned a pretty, clean, perfect, Disneyland type castle. But when we provide a picture or show a video, students can see that castles in the past looked more like Game of Thrones, a little dirtier, darker, not as pretty. And then it helps them have a mindset of when they're looking at the content that castles weren't these beautiful places for everyone. They could have had, a little bit of adversity within them there. So we're going to have a look at another video, and I encourage you to have a look at this instructor as she's giving directions in another language. As you watch, see if you can pick out some of the strategies she used to make her instructions more understandable to all of us who don't know the language that she is speaking. Maybe take a moment to reflect on some of these strategies you use to make directions and information comprehensible.
Zdravo, učiteljice. Uzmite papir. Podelite na papir na pola. Na jednu stranu nacrtajte oči, na drugu stranu nacrtajte uši. Dobro. Well, how did you do? Were you able to complete the task that I asked you to complete? Were you able to understand the language? Probably not. I'm going to try the same demonstration, only this time I'm going to use some comprehensible input strategies. Let's see if you're more successful this time. Zdravo, učiteljice. Zdravo. Moje ime je Valentina. Moje ime je Valentina. Zdravo. Uzmite jedan papir. Papir. Uzmite papir. Podelite na pola. Podelite papir na pola. Podelite na pola. Papir podeli na pola. Dobro. Na jednu stranu nacrtajte oči. Čekaj. Oči. 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 Na jednu stranu nacrtajte oči. Na drugu stranu nacrtajte uši. Uši.
Uši. Na druhou stranu nadcrtajte uši. 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 Dobro.
All right, so how did you do the second time around? Were you able to understand the language or the message I was getting across to you? And did you complete the task? So I was speaking Serbian. How many of you speak Serbian? But how many of you were able to complete the task the second time around? Because I made content comprehensible. So I'd like for you to discuss at your tables the strategies I used the second time around to make content comprehensible so that you were able to complete the task.
Okay. I know for me, when Valentina instructed us with that first set of instructions, I don't even know if I knew she was giving out instructions. So I definitely picked up on absolutely nothing. And imagine being a student who sits in a classroom for hours at a time, not understanding anything. But then when Valentina gave us a few strategies, repeated the instructions, repeated the words that she was pointing, actually demonstrating the action, I was able to follow along for sure. So a visual is also an effective way to add clarity to a question and build up the background knowledge needed to tackle questions. By bringing up an image or showing a quick clip, we can prevent students from being derailed just by the language. Using visuals will help build background knowledge, but also connect new learning to a student's prior knowledge. So this question here comes from a junior high math assessment. During a football practice, a player does 168 kgs of work while pushing a sled a distance of 250 meters. The force the player, the force the player pushed is. Now, for a number of ELLs from all over the world, football can mean what we would call here soccer. So by reading the first line in the question, it has already derailed that student as they are picturing someone playing soccer. This may create a barrier for the students as they demonstrate their knowledge of the content. So even the word sled is also a barrier for even native English speakers who may not have the background knowledge of North American football, because the picture on the right is actually a sled. So that thing those football players are pushing, it's quite heavy, so it would be used in training. And even myself, if I hear sled, I'm really picturing more of like a toboggan or something that you would use in winter. So imagine this is a math question and we already are quite confused and we haven't even really gotten started. So quickly removing these barriers with a visual and explanation can ensure students are supported in answering this question. So being mindful that even in some of our subjects you don't think is full of language, they really are, have a lot of language and cultural pieces to them. And here you're going to see a whole bunch of graphic organizers, and they really are the best resource for all learners. They are versatile. They allow students to show their understanding. They allow for critical thinking without having to use high levels of language. And most importantly, graphic organizers benefit all learners. Graphic organizers make those processes visible, supporting the organization of concepts. They are versatile in that graphic organizers can be used across content areas, lessening the language loads for students. And maybe even thinking about instead of a report or a multiple choice test, students could be using a graphic organizer to give feedback to students, and also can be used as a unit test as well. They can support students in organizing ideas, shared through discussion, planning for writing tasks, or actually be the writing test. So this from K to 12 can be that piece of assessment that they are using. There are a whole bunch if you click on graphic organizers here, but one I love, and some of you have heard me say this before, is that somebody wanted but so. And for instance, you can see that I can tell that this student understood Anne Frank because they wrote, Anne Frank wanted to hide from the Nazis, but someone turned her and her family in, and she died in a concentration camp. I didn't need that 5-paragraph essay to know that they comprehended what was going on. So feel free to scan through some of those to be able to pick out some that could meet your context. And again, here are those Frere models that we discussed. And remember, you can edit the expectation for each corner depending on your context. And these are anchor charts, which I briefly chatted about, and they're visuals designed to reinforce taught concepts. These can be teacher generated, but they're also beautiful when students create them, and they make the process and thinking accessible, and they model the processes visually and provide exemplars of how to address questions and problems. So I'm seeing lots in classrooms of those, the one on the far right, the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and you can see inside there are different synonyms that mean add. And so when kids are working and tackling on word problems, they can look in there and go, oh, it says in all, sum, increase, and that's going to spark that remembering the information that they have been taught. And another way to support students in bridging language and build vocabulary is by using a personal dictionary. Home language should be always encouraged, and these ones within the slide have the English vocabulary word, the words written in home language, a student-created definition, and you could also add which page in the textbook the word was found, so if they wanted to refer back to any visuals there. And also there could be pictures in there, but we have a couple different templates that when you click on that link, you'll be able to access. And word walls are a way for learned vocabulary to be displayed for students to access during the school day. It stands as a visual reminder of all the words students have learned and will encourage students to use them in their speech and when they're writing. Students should be reminded to look at the word wall and use it. It is for them. If it's in a room and no one is using it, that means that students don't know that it is for them. If you click on the link on the right-hand side labeled Interactive Word Wall Activities, you will find all sorts of fun ways to use a word wall. And again, this is for all levels of students that you are and grade levels that you're supporting. They're just not for our younger students, they're for everybody. And these charts are called alphabet charts. They come in large class sizes or personal 8x10 student versions. They are essentially a word wall, a collection of learned vocabulary. These large ones can be ordered also through our district's printing services for a fairly low cost, and then you can laminate them and use them over and over again. And again, when a new word is discussed, the word is added to the box, and the creation of word banks, which really what these are, activates prior knowledge, builds background knowledge, and again, home language can be used to support these connections. You can review these words using those interactive word wall activities that was linked in the previous slide as well. And always, it's great to bring in realia, which is real life objects, into the classroom. And it's really meaningful for students because many students, for instance, may never have seen a microscope. So we can talk about it and show them a picture, but there's something very cool and memorable when you first look through a lens and see something so tiny appear really large. So there are many kits available for us to sign out at the Instructional Media Center. And you can ask your Learning Commons librarian for help in seeing what is available. So lots of kits and maybe lots of items also just in your Learning Commons. And lastly, we also want to look at supporting students with producing language as well. So language supports can include providing and using sentence frames or sentence starters, supporting students through structured time to talk about their learning every day, and prompting students to access their home language. And if you click on here, you're going to have access to many sentence frames and starters that you can use. Sentence frames allow students to feel safe to take a risk entering into a classroom conversation or written assignment. Sentence frames or starters clarify the instructions, support students so they can focus on learning the content, provide accurate English sentence structure and grammar, and they help enrich a classroom conversation because more voices are heard. Sentence frames can be posted and used to guide conversation and vocabulary to support student engagement. Again, sentence frames are not only effective for supporting writing, they're also effective in supporting speaking when responding. And this goes for all of us. I know I have been in PG sessions where I don't feel comfortable or want to take the risk to talk because sometimes I think I'm going to forget what I'm about to say. But if I had a few words to guide me through my response, it definitely would help support me in feeling more comfortable doing that. And so here we can see on this slide an example of language supports that can be added to answer a math problem. Students can also be provided transition words, which may be enough for some, and for others they may need to be provided the full frame. And by providing transition words and sentence frames, you're providing an entry point for all students into solving this equation. Before writing an answer, all of this should be modeled through self-talk. So we always talk about that math self-talk. All students will benefit from visually representing the steps to solving this equation and talking through these steps. And this quote here, research has revealed a tight relationship between oral language proficiency and higher level literacy development. The better EALs can speak and understand English, the better they can read and write it. And so that's why it's so important when you might be working with students in a smaller group, they are going to be feeling a little more comfortable to be able to speak through their learning. So always encourage and give them that push, but also support them maybe with a sentence frame or a graphic organizer so that they can practice in a really safe space before maybe they get back into a larger group setting. And why allow for time for talk? Well, there's lots of reasons. And really, you can see them here, but really, we want to build that student confidence and competence. So the more we all know, the more we talk through new ideas, the better we're able at communicating our ideas effectively. And this goes also with our students. So I love everything that's on this slide right here. So if you click at the very top, it's going to take you to an area with lots of different structured talk activities. So when I say encourage student talk, it's not just go talk because you know what it's going to be like. There's going to be, some kids not talking about what you want them. So in a really structured way, we can formally plan some of these activities. So for instance, providing a visual or realia and ask which one doesn't belong. Again, we can add sentence frames to give to students to support their access into the response. At the very top left corner there, you'll see a Tarzia puzzle link, and they will ignite conversation. So Tarzia puzzles are a jigsaw activity form of puzzle that students have to solve. In a Tarzia puzzle, each piece has a question or answer on it, and as students match the pieces together correctly, answers to questions are revealed. And but I love Tarzia puzzles where there's multiple answers because then students really need to talk through their justification of why they are choosing the answer they are. But not all talk time activities have to be formally planned. It can be as simple as posing a question or using that think, pair, share strategy, or just turn and talk to the person beside you. Again, sentence frames can be added to help guide their response. Playing a game like Hot Seat, where one student sits at the front of the class with their back facing the board, and a word is held behind the student or written behind the student so they're unable to see it, and the class needs to give hints, so maybe adjectives, adverbs, synonyms, antonyms, in order for the student to guess the word. And again, all EAL levels can participate. Would you rather questions are also really, really fun. As students get older, it could be, would you rather work outside or inside? This one says, would you rather be able to control fire or water? Could be as simple as, would you rather eat pizza or chicken, whatever it happens to be. Also, using these non-permanent surfaces, such as whiteboards, will support collaboration in student groups. So these surfaces get students out of their seats, getting them moving and activating their thinking. It allows students to see the work of other groups, which gives them ideas of things to try, or perhaps, what not to do. It also allows teachers and instructors to see the work of each group at a glance, prompting us to offer feedback and questioning their thinking. So make sure you check out some of those activities, because I know you would do a great job also facilitating them. Each K-9 school were sent these Wheezy card kits, and each kit has hundreds of cards with beautiful images on them. And within the kits, there are activity cards as well, but you may consider asking students which one doesn't belong. This also is a great question, because there can be multiple answers. And then again, each student has to justify or prove why they answered the way they did. And again, we'd provide some sentence frames. You can look for things that are the same in the cards. You can discuss why they are different, maybe sequence a story and tell the story as they put the cards down, or even playing a game of I Spy. I have yet to meet an age group that didn't love I Spy, and trying to get one over on me as well. So all of these will elicit a lot of really great talk. And you may have these games in your Learning Commons, or if your school is looking to purchase some games, these ones are really fun, and they also allow students to practice language. And I know this is one of the last things I'll be talking about, but it really is one of the most important parts. Is we want students to know that we value their home language. You can remind students that their home language allows them to access a wide range of skills and knowledge that helps them make connections to this new English language that they are learning. Students' prior knowledge is also linked to their home language, which then helps them better engage with the new content they're learning. And celebrating your home language will always validate who you are and the assets that you bring. Unite for Literacy offers a collection of stories that can be read to students in English and also additional languages. There are 25 additional languages that are offered. Students have an opportunity to build literacy in their home language, which we know will transfer in the building of literacy skills in English. These resources also enable parents and guardians to be a part of the learning team, which strengthens the cultural connection to curriculum as well. And mustard seed books are patterned books around a grade 1 reading comprehension level that are written in English and Spanish, and they can be photocopied and sent home, but students can read the book in Spanish and then read the same book in English. You can also add subtitles in a variety of languages to YouTube videos, and there's a link at the top to show you how to do that. But I've also found just adding English subtitles can clarify the spoken word for all students. And then on here, you can see there's a link up here and a link down here. And the first is a link to our EAL team has a YouTube channel where we house all our recorded PG. So if you'd like to get other ideas, you can look there. And then this second link is to our EAL course site. It's still under construction, but you can check it out. And it is by division, but you may go to Div 1 and find some things that you might use in high school, or you might go to high school and be able to see a lot of these resources and materials found there. And this is a piece we love from Modern Family, and it speaks so accurately to what our ELLs experience. The cognitive load that they experience through the day is immense. They are constantly translating between their various languages to comprehend, making connections, and communicating. We need to be mindful of this and ensure that we are not creating additional barriers for our students, but instead supporting them to be able to bridge that language gap. We want them to be able to share their knowledge without creating the barrier, and it's true for all ages of students, younger or older. So you can see that Sophia is saying, do you know how frustrating it is to have to translate everything in my head before I say it? Do you even know how smart I am in Spanish? And I'll just go back to this one here. Oops, not going back. Just give me 1 second. We will just end our recording and then I'll come back here. And then you'll be able to feel free to ask questions.